The worst part of being lost in your own world is not knowing how far you've drifted. You're floating on a sea of thoughts, so caught up in your own emotions that you can't see the shoreline of reality anymore. The world keeps moving, but you're stuck in the current of your own mind. You become so fixated on your inner world, on the battles you fight with your own emotions, that the world around you loses its significance. The small joys, the little victories, the connections with others, everything fades away, and all that's left is the world you've created inside. We build castles in the air, and when we find ourselves lost in them, we forget that there's an entire kingdom outside. We get so focused on the walls we've constructed that we stop noticing the beauty, the adventure, and the people waiting for us beyond. There are days when you're so caught up in your own emotions that everything around you seems like a blur. Your mind races, your heart pounds, and the world fades away. But if you listen closely, you'll hear it calling you back. It's never too late to step outside of your own head. Sometimes you're so caught in your thoughts that you forget to notice the world around you. People pass by, moments slip through your fingers, and life goes on, unnoticed. It's a strange feeling, this disconnection, but it's also a reminder to pay attention before it's too late. Your thoughts become so loud that they drown out everything else. You can't hear the laughter of your friends, the sound of the rain, or the whispers of the universe telling you to slow down. You're so lost in your own world that the real world is like a distant dream you can't reach. When you're lost in your own mind, it's like living in a fog. Everything is muffled, unclear, and distant. The only thing that's real is what you're feeling, and yet, even that feels uncertain. You walk through life with blinders on, unaware of the beauty that surrounds you. You become so immersed in your own thoughts that the world outside feels irrelevant. The people, the places, the moments, they all fade into the background as you lose yourself in a maze of your own making. And in the silence of your mind, everything that's real slips away. The world moves forward, but sometimes you get stuck in your own head, replaying thoughts and emotions that no longer serve you. The disconnection is subtle, almost imperceptible, but when you finally realize it, you see how much you've missed while you were lost in your own thoughts. You might think that being lost in your own world is a form of escape, but in reality, it's a form of imprisonment. You build walls around your emotions, isolate yourself in your own mind, and lose touch with the reality that's happening right in front of you. There are times when you are so consumed by your own thoughts that you lose sight of the world outside. You forget that life is happening all around you, that there are people to connect with, moments to cherish, and experiences to embrace. We can get so lost in our emotions that we forget to live. We become so consumed by the things going on inside our heads that we stop noticing the things that truly matter. We miss the beauty, the love, and the lessons the world is trying to show us. When you're stuck in your own world, it feels like everything else is happening in a parallel universe. The more you get lost in your own thoughts, the more distant the real world becomes. The clock ticks, and you're still stuck in a moment that has already passed. Your mind is a maze, full of twists and turns, and it's easy to get lost in it. You think you're finding your way, but you just keep circling back to the same place. Outside, the world moves on, and you're left behind, unaware of how much you've missed. Being lost in your own mind can feel like you're floating, disconnected from the world around you. The real world becomes a distant echo, and you're left grasping for something solid, something real. But the more you reach out, the further it seems to get. You're trapped in a world you've created for yourself, a world of thoughts and feelings that you can't escape. Everything outside of you becomes distant, irrelevant, and you wonder if there's more to life than the constant swirl of emotions inside your head. When you're lost in your own world, you forget how to truly see. You miss the beauty of the world, the way the sun sets, the laughter of a friend, the kindness of a stranger. Instead, you're locked in a place that's all yours, but not where you truly want to be. You might feel like you're on the edge of something, but when you look around, everything feels blurry. You're caught between what's happening inside your mind and what's happening outside. But you're so caught up in your own thoughts that you miss the clarity of the moment. Sometimes we become so consumed by our own thoughts and emotions that the world around us fades into a blur. We walk through life unaware of the changes, of the people reaching out, of the opportunities passing us by. In these moments, it's like we're living in a world we've created for ourselves, disconnected from the reality unfolding around us. You are so wrapped up in your own mind that you forget there's an entire universe outside of it. Your thoughts swirl around, each one a storm of their own, making it hard to hear the world knocking at your door. You're so lost in the noise of your own mind that the silence of what's real doesn't even register. It's as if you're floating in a sea of your own thoughts, drifting further and further from the shore of reality. Everything feels distant, blurry, and out of reach. The current of your feelings pulls you deeper, and you can't tell if you're swimming or sinking. You're walking through a dream you've created in your own mind, so lost in it that the world's subtle whispers pass you by unnoticed. The thoughts that run through your head are louder than anything else, drowning out the beauty and chaos happening around you. We often lose ourselves in the maze of our own mind, tangled in the thoughts we refuse to let go of. It's easy to forget and that there's a world beyond our own struggles, that other people are living their own stories, unaware of the walls we've built around ourselves. In a world where we are constantly lost in thought, we forget that sometimes the answers we seek aren't in our minds, but in the moments that pass us by. We become so absorbed in our inner dialogue that we lose track of what's real and tangible in front of us. You build a fortress within yourself, one thought at a time, and before you know it, you're trapped inside it. The outside world moves, changes, and evolves, but you're too preoccupied to notice. You're lost in a place only you can see, and the world keeps on spinning without you. It's easy to get so lost in your own world that you miss the signs of change. The feelings you bottle up inside slowly erode your connection to the present. While your mind races forward, the world patiently waits for you to catch up, but you're not ready to leave the space you've built. In the vast landscape of your thoughts, sometimes the present feels like a distant memory. You become so entangled in your emotions, so lost in your mind, that the world outside becomes irrelevant. Your thoughts cloud everything, leaving no room for the reality around you. When your mind is constantly racing, it's hard to see the path right in front of you. You walk through life, distracted by your own thoughts and emotions, unaware of how many doors you're passing by. You're too lost in your own world to notice the opportunities calling your name. You might feel like you're on a journey, but it's not one you're taking with others. It's a journey inside yourself, where every thought and feeling builds an invisible barrier between you and the world. You become so wrapped up and in your own struggles that the world's beauty escapes you. Being lost in your own world is a dangerous place to be, for the present slips away unnoticed. You sit in a room full of people, but your mind is somewhere far away, and in that space, you're missing out on everything that's happening right now. You're in a world of your own making, but the real world keeps moving. There are moments when we become so absorbed in our feelings that we forget what it's like to feel connected to anything else. We forget to notice the little things, the smile of a stranger, the warmth of the sun on our skin, the way the world moves around us without our consent. You're caught in the whirlwind of your own thoughts, lost in the storm of emotions that feel all-consuming. The world outside seems like a distant echo, but in reality, it's waiting for you to step out of the haze and remember what it's like to be fully present. It's easy to get trapped in your own mind, to become so consumed by your thoughts that the world around you becomes a blur. But when you take a moment to pause and listen, you realize that the world never stops. People, opportunities, and moments are still passing you by. You don't realize how lost you are in your own world until you snap back into reality. It's a strange feeling, like waking up from a dream where everything made sense. But now you're surrounded by a world that feels completely foreign. The disconnect is jarring, but it's also a wake-up call. The mind has a way of trapping us in patterns, in cycles of thought that we can't escape. When you're lost in your own world, you forget that there's a life happening around you, full of beauty, surprises, and even chaos. And by the time you notice, so much has passed you by.